Hi everybody, it's crazy, it's Friday, and it's time for the UPBGE video of the week. Now, before I get started, gotta give a shout out to my trusted, because you guys rock, to my crazy fam, because I love you guys, and to my Patreons, thank you for your support. We are up to chapter 11, and guess what we get to start today? We get to start making a game. That's right, we are up to chapter 2 of the book called, let me bring it up here, called Game Development with Blender, and it's called the Game Engine Book. Okay, this is basically a book about how the Blender game engine is used. It's based on some older Blender, Blender game ethics, but they updated it a little bit. And since UPBGE, this has kind of been the standard for the old version 0.2x. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're up to chapter 2, so let's swing on over to here. There we go. Chapter 2, first game. In this chapter, we are going through the steps of making a simple game, from start to finish. The first goal is to keep your Blender knowledge up to date. Very important. Second, this is a chance to present an overview of the game's workflow. From this point on, you should be able to read the chapters in this book in any given order according to your needs. Okay, we're going to actually go from each chapter straight on through. Okay, so we're not going to dance around, because I actually want to follow the book all the way through. It's a good way of learning, and it might help you. Okay, so for the game idea, okay, the shark population has been depleted worldwide. Studies suggest that overfishing and the illegal marketing of shark fins has impacted not only the top predator of the oceans, but also brought imbalance to the whole ecosystem. In this payback, I'm sorry, it is payback time. I don't know where I got if from. Although we are tempted, we can't really make a gory game here because of the risk of losing our teenage audience. Yes, we can't do that. When we need to make some compromises in developing the storyline. Struggling for survival, sharks need to eat as much as possible to escape the risk of extinction. Sure, who doesn't like sushi? Yeah, that's a sashimi, but I guess that's just sushi, right? Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Simply put, we will need a swimming shark that has to eat fish and is controlled by the player. Also, as shown in Figure 2-1, which will be here in just a second. Every time the shark eats a fish, it gets bigger and bigger. To make it more like a game, we will wrap it with a score system and an omnipresent ticking counting down clock. Okay, so that's the shark, so to speak. Okay, game elements. So let's go ahead and switch on over to our UPBGE. Yay, you should know this window, and if you don't and you have not already set your preferences, okay, well, actually it's save startup file. Okay, if you haven't set this up to where it actually goes into Blender game, I would suggest doing so by doing that. But like I said before in my last video, I usually keep it on render because I do other things as well, not just game design. But if you want to keep it on Blender game, that's all you're going to be doing is trying to build games. Best to keep it on Blender game unless you're going to come up with something like, some awesome graphics looking, model or something. Okay, but make sure you keep that on. If you do not have in your, where's it at? In your shadings tab, if you do not have GSL, clicked, so to speak, if you don't have it checked, check it. Multi-texturing, you don't want to do that with this older version of Blender. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my screencast keys. I also have a link in the description on how to get screencast keys for this older version. We are using 0.2.0, which is based off of Blender's 2.78.5 version of Blender. Okay, I'm actually going to start taking steps forward. After we get done with this book, I'm going to start going into 2.5, UPBGE 0.2.5, and then later on we're going to go into 0.3. 0.03. Okay, so let's get back to it. Game elements. This minimalistic game will consist of animated shark controlled by keyboard, underwater environment, schools of fish controlled by AI, and an interface. Let's see. We are not covering all the topics extensively. We will, however, walk you through some of the basics of modeling, animating, and other Blender specific tasks. Now we're going to be doing other stuff just beside that, okay? Well, I saw GSL. Sorry guys, I saw GLSL on my screen and I don't know why I saw it. Anywho, okay, on we go. If you're already familiar with Blender as an asset-making tool, you might skip some of those steps. You will find incremental snapshots for all the individual parts here on this site. Okay, so you can actually go to, I got the link in the description where you can actually go to their GitHub page, and they do have a file you can download that has all the stuff in it for the book. Okay, so if you get lost or you get kind of, frustrated, or you don't have the, modeling skills, I don't either. Trust me, I'm not that great of a modeler either. So if you do have, you're not really good at stuff, you can always just download it, and if you get stuck, you can just use it. Okay, they're giving you full permission to do so. Okay. All right. So file organization and data blocks, and linking. Okay, to start with the fin, starting with the right fin, it's important to plan ahead and know how to organize the files we will be creating. For this project, we will try to make the files as self-contained as possible. You should be able to open the shark file and test the swimming animation without having to worry about the other fish, the terrain, or the interface. Okay. All right. Having independent files allows for a big team to work together on separate assets. It also helps for individual versioning control. It may seem like overkill for a small project, but it's a good practice that scales up pretty well. And doing that with Python, when I was learning Python, that actually does help out because you can actually fix a lot of things and not have a bug from one of your files causing another bug on another file. So, looking at this kind of helps you out. Okay? Version control. Version control is any system you can find to organize the version of your files. If you keep daily backups of your production files in a separate folder, then you are doing version control. In practical terms, there are more modern ways to accomplish this without having to handle file renaming and manually filled log files, namely SVN, Git, and Bazaar. Bazaar. Blender files are not optional when it comes to merging. Given that they are binaries, you either roll back a file entirely or do it manually. Thus, working with individual components can help you overcome that. Okay? Alright, so let's see, where are we at? Okay, yeah, we can do a couple more here. Alright, so in the previous chapter, we introduced you to the concept of data blocks. Linked data blocks, for example, a texture data block used by a material data block, doesn't even need to be part of the same file. In our project, we will use it to a certain extent. What are the criteria here? Taking material and textures as an example, you need to consider how you will be using them in your workflow. Those two are often edited together. You adjust the influence of a texture channel in your material. Tweak the material diffuse color and get back the texture. In this case, it's best to have both data blocks in the same file. Basically, all they're saying is you don't want to have your texture in one file and or your material in one file and text in another file. Not very good. You want them all both together in the same file. Now, let's look at armatures and actions. Only after you are done with your rigging do you start the animation. Even if you change your armature after you start the animation, you may want to keep them separated. If you need to go back to an earlier version of the armature, but want to keep the new animations, separated files are the way to go. That said, we could keep the action separated from the main armature files. We could, but for the sake of simplicity, we will not. But how do we keep them linked while in separate files? And that is for another video. So, let me know what you think in the comments, or hop on over to my server and say, hey, crazy, like it, hate it, whatever. Let me know what you think, and we can have a conversation. We can go over the book a little bit more. If you've gotten a little bit ahead and you decided to go ahead and do linking and appending, go for it. Don't let me hold you back. I do this video for us slower guys, mainly us guys who are old, and some people who have a hard time learning. So if you would like to continue on without us, that's great. More power to you. Enjoy. If you are slow like me and it's a little bit hard for you to learn, next week I will continue on with linking and appending. Now, we didn't do anything in good old UPBGE today, unfortunately. Here, there we go. Let's move to cube so that we say we did something. Right now, it's just giving you the walkthrough of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Okay? Give you some fundamentals and some things to think about while you're getting ready to build your game. So putting some tools in the toolbox, so to speak. So let's see here. This one? Yeah, there we go. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to head and end it here, and we will start linking and appending next week. So stay tuned for Friday, and we'll see you then.